Yeah, so La Francine is sort of the surrogate mother to Cootie. So she's really the first person you meet in the show, and she's the person that sort of takes the baby home. And from the very beginning, you can tell there's something sort of undercover going on, and it's not really revealed until quite late into the show. Well, I guess the first reveal is that the baby is just gigantic.
Yeah, it's like
That's
5
a
feet tall.
fairly obvious, like, sort
There's
of.
something's
There's
going on. Yeah.
that. But then there's more. Like, by the end of the first episode, you realize that there's some other sort of covert mission, perhaps, without saying too much, that La Francine and Martise, who's her partner, are definitely involved in. But I will say no more than that, because part of what's so great about this show is the mystery of it all, and the fact that there are these really strange reveals that sort of unravel and sort of come to the fore as we go along.
I play this guy, yeah, the hero, and he is he's a billionaire who wants to bring order to the world through this way in which he looks at the world is through justice, and he. Let's see here. I haven't really framed this conversation because but it's been so top secret for so long. But I think ultimately, when the show continues, what you find out is that he's a superhero having an existential crisis, and suffering under the weight of carrying kind of this self-imposed burden of keeping order. And I can't say too much more than that because of where the show's going. Look, I stumbled like right out of the gate because I haven't really talked about this, and it really is, kind of kept under wraps. But I will say this outside of this show, to change the thoughts and the behavior, even for the most altruistic among us, people that are the most well intentioned, sometimes they just don't know what they don't know, right? And it's like turning a battleship. It takes a lot of energy to change people's opinions about things. And a lot of times, as one gets older, you become recalcitrant and you become entrenched in your own way of thinking. And even though you may not exercise it in a negative way, the idea of really thinking differently about the world is too intimidating because it requires so much fucking energy, you know? And that's basically what I think happens at a certain point in this experience. And it's cool. It's really different, and no one's written anyone in this position quite the way that Boots has. I think I can say that.
I love Flora. Excuse me, I lost my voice. I'm sorry. No, Flora is just another girl in the world and who meets Cootie and they have adventures together. Yeah, I think that's the simplest way to put it. I mean, you have to kind of see the show and see where they go.
Well, I think they spoke. Well, yeah, well, they spoke to it a bit like after the premiere last night, and just about accepting people for who they are and kind of how they see themselves. His group of people, they see themselves as 13 feet tall. But go ahead.
But I think as one of his sort of parent figures, I think our perspective is a little different. We're a little terrified of what this world will do to someone that really stands out and is really exceptional in some way. And so for us, it's like a real challenge how to prepare him for a world where he's going to be different. But also protect him from a world where he's going to be different. So I think for us as the parents in the show, we have to really sort of struggle with that dilemma. And I think as a parent in the real world, I have the same issue. There are so many things that are thrown at you as a parent and at your children to like as to and how they navigate and really make sense of things in order to be a fully fledged, fully self-actualized human being, while also preventing themselves from being a target as a result, is like a daily navigation. At least I think for my kids, it's certainly the case. So I think in that sense, it's very sort of like grounded and authentic to real life, even though we're dealing with fantastical 13 feet characters. But on top of that, as parents, we're also preparing him to be truly exceptional and recognize that there's something in his difference that means he's a marked person that's going to do something special in the world. So it's a complicated relationship that I think Maltese and Francine have to Cootie and what to do with him. Yeah, like the creativity is off the chain on this show. Like we're using puppets, forced perspective, CGI, miniature versions of ourselves, giant versions of people. Like it's insane. And I don't think you've ever seen a show where where all that inventiveness comes together and actually works. Like it was a real experiment.
It really is like magical surrealism, you know. And there was a review today, and I thought it was so smart because I think we all felt it when we were doing it. So much of this for so many filmmakers is done with a blue screen, right? And you kind of build the world around this person. But so much of what Boots did is these like old school kind of Hollywood tricks. They're practical sets. You know, they built a house that you guys fit in, and then a house that he fit in, and it's the way in which they kind of played with those visuals. It's like it really is like a Dali painting, you know. I mean, like it's very strange, but yet it becomes very comfortable, and you're very comfortable watching this world very quickly.
And then as actors, the way we had to like work with each other was completely different. But I think you kind of pick up some of that extra like attempt that we all had to like really understand and really intuit and feel each other because of these weird limitations that brings. We're not always in the same room as each other when we're actually performing. Sometimes you're looking at a puppet and trying to pretend that the puppet has feelings. You know, all of these things that I think are just really exciting for us as performers. And I really think you pick up on that little extra something as an audience. If you're into like Harryhausen, like Harryhausen and all that stuff, if you grew up, and I feel like Boots grew up in that generation too, this is gonna be totally your show. And if you didn't, this will be your like a next generation introduction to that stuff.
Filmmakers don't get the opportunity to make stories like this. It is once in a generation. Boots is that person for this generation. And it's extraordinary to see someone with an imagination as broad and 3- and 4-dimensional as his get the opportunity to express himself visually. And I think that's so cool. And that's what people will respond to.
Oh, and it's super political as well, by the way.
It's
we have a real
political.
message in this show.
And let's come.
We're going to educate you.
Yes, she's a Libra. I'm a Scorpio. We're just going to keep these. We're going to keep these with us and continue this answering questions as we go down the elevator. Okay, we're going to.